Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and the iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max are finally here. I thought we'd unbox them, set them up, take a look at them, see what the cameras are like, and much more, but they start at $999 this year, the same for the Pro models at 128 gigabytes. However, they've gotten rid of that storage option for the Pro Max, so that starts at the same price last year for $256 and goes up to $1,599 for the 1 terabyte option. Now we have 4 new colors since we have titanium. We have natural titanium that I have here along with blue titanium, and then there's a white titanium and black titanium. Let's go ahead and take a look at these and start unboxing. Now let's go ahead and unbox these. I have the natural titanium here on the left with the Pro, so let's go ahead and open this up here. We'll remove these pull tabs. And let's do the same on the other one. Now this is actually a 512 model, the other one is 256. So we'll pull these off here and here. And let's remove the box tops. And this is my first time seeing these phones. I actually didn't even look at them in the store. So as you can see, we have natural titanium and the new blue titanium. Let's go ahead and remove this just for a moment. We'll remove both, and wow, are those light compared to what I'm used to. And in the box, we have a nice new braided cable, USB-C to USB-C. Of course, we'll talk more about USB-C in a moment, but it's a nice braided cable. Not color matched, but at least it's braided, so it should be more durable. And then, of course, in the box here, we have a little more information where it says you no longer need a physical SIM card. So in the United States, we have eSIMs, just like last year, and then we have a little sticker and a little warranty card. So typical what we get every single year. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the titanium here. We'll remove the cover. And let's do the same on the other one. And immediately these feel much better when you're holding them. So let me go ahead and move the boxes aside and take a closer look. Now we have titanium, like I said, around the outside edge, and these are actually curved. So you can see the really nice difference in color here, and you'll see how they curve around the outside edges. And on the right side, we have our 5G millimeter wave antenna, of course, a couple different antenna lines, but then our power sleep wake button, just like you would expect. On the top, nothing at all, just a little line for the antennas. And then on the other side, this is where we have a little bit of a change, where we have our volume buttons and our new action button on both models. And then, of course, the biggest change this year is probably USB-C on the bottom. With the Pro models, we actually get USB 3, which we get about 10 gigabits per second, which is nice. Not as great as we could have had with Thunderbolt, but I'll take that over Lightning any day. Of course, we have our speaker and microphone ports as well. Now the outside edge, like I said, is really nice. So getting up here nice and close, it's not sharp anymore. It curves around the outside edge. I think it looks great, and as far as the overall weight of these, well, these feel very light. Compared to the previous models, they're much lighter. So with the 15 Pro Max, compared to the previous phone, we have 7.81 ounces or 221 grams compared to 8.47 ounces or 240 grams. With the 15 Pro, we have 6.60 ounces or 187 grams compared to 7.27 ounces or 206 grams. And as far as the overall size, let me line them up here briefly, just side to side, and you can see the difference between all of them. So from left to right, of course, let's switch these around here. From left to right, we have the 14 Pro compared to the 15 Pro, which the 15 Pro is a little bit smaller than the 14 Pro Max and the 15 Pro Max. As far as a size comparison, side by side, you'll see that there is a slight difference as far as the overall height and width as well. So as I line these up, it's very slight, but there's definitely a difference. The same is true with the Pro Max. So we have a slightly smaller phone this year. So again, if I line them up side to side, it's slightly thinner or not as wide, and the same is true from top to bottom. So it's maybe a couple millimeters or a millimeter or so, but definitely a little bit smaller, definitely a lot lighter. And of course we have ceramic shield and the dynamic island. We also should have thinner bezels, but if you want to protect these devices, that's where today's sponsor comes in, Pitaka. Pitaka has a full lineup of cases ready to go for the iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 models. Pitaka uses aramid fiber, which is 5 times stronger than steel but more durable to scratches than carbon fiber. And something really important to me is the texture of the Pitaka cases, which add grip but also feel high quality and smooth in the hand. Pitaka offers MagSafe versions of their cases as well in multiple colors that offer drop protection and feature aluminum inside, along with aramid fiber and leather if you choose, and they work with Pitaka MagSafe accessories such as the car mounts and more. There's also a designer series of cases beyond just the classic colors if you want something with a little more flair. I'll link them in the description with a 10% off discount code to new customers. Be sure to check them out there. Now let's go ahead and turn both of these on for the first time. Like I said, I haven't seen the displays, and the Pro Max is 6.7 inches, the same resolution as last year, 2796 by 1290 at 460 pixels per inch. The Pro is 6.1 inches or 2556 by 1179 at 460 pixels per inch. They're both very similar to last year, 120 Hz, 1000 nits of brightness typically, 1600 peak brightness in HDR, and 2000 peak brightness outdoors. They have True Tone, and we'll talk about PWM in a minute. Let's go ahead and slide these up. Now I'll go ahead and get these set up quickly and transfer everything over to the 15 Pro Max, as I plan to use this as my main phone. We'll see how it holds up with fingerprints and more. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and scan this here, get it set up. I'll set up both, connect them with my account, and we'll move on. Now it's asking me to update the software as there's a day one software update. Yesterday, Apple released iOS 17.0.2 for iPhone 15 models. We'll update later so we can see what version was pre-installed. Let's go ahead and tap continue for data and privacy. Then we'll move on to the next step. And immediately I notice these are very different to hold, much better balanced. They just seem to be much, much nicer as far as that goes. So let's get Face ID set up on both of them. So we'll do that on the Pro Max first. Give it a second here, position your face. And we can set it up to use a mask or not. We'll skip that for now. We can always set that up later. And then on the other phone, we'll do the same thing. So again, we'll put in the password. We'll scan our face here, get that set up. And don't use Face ID. Now, I'm not going to transfer anything right now. Of course, I'll come back and do that a little bit later, just so I can get this set up. Now it's asking for my Apple ID, so I'll go ahead and put that in. Now, once we've verified, agree to the terms and conditions, it's going to sign me in and move everything over. Once you've signed in, you can transfer everything or nothing at all. We can customize or continue. Let's go ahead and customize. We only want to download automatically for the updates since I want to see what's there. It asked me if I wanted to transfer my phone number. I'll do that later. And now it's asking me to set up Apple Pay. I'll set this up later as well. We also have the Siri set up. We'll hit continue, and then we can set it up this way. If you set up Siri, then you can choose to share audio recordings. I'll choose not to do that for now. And then you can set up screen time. I don't typically use that. I'll set it up later. Then we can improve iPhone analytics. I don't share that. And then also it's showing us where silent mode is since we have the new action button. So we'll take a closer look at that in a moment. We'll tap continue. And now it's showing us the action button. We can customize it or not now. Let's go ahead and customize it and see what we've got. So this is the new UI where we can have silent mode. We've got a couple different things here. We can select a focus mode. We can use it for our camera, and we can open different things for that as well. Photo, selfie, video, portrait, or photo or portrait selfie. So that's really nice. We also have flashlight. Then we have voice memo, and then we have magnifier, as well as a shortcut. We can create a shortcut or choose an accessibility feature. And you've got all of these different things we can choose, anything from guided access all the way over to color filters and more. So that's great. Let's just for now set it to either no action, or we'll just set it back to silent mode for now, and then we'll customize that later. We also have emergency SOS, so we can tap continue here. And again, let's customize. We'll hit continue, continue, and then we should be ready to go right to the iPhone with its default wallpaper. It wants us to set up cellular. I'll say not now. And this is what it looks like. Now, the first thing I notice right away is some of the screen itself, the radius is a little bit different. And so if I bring in my 14 Pro Max side by side, the bezels are slightly thinner on the sides. As you can see here, maybe a little bit better this way. They're slightly thinner, but the corners seem a little bit different as well. So it definitely feels a lot different than it looks in photos or videos. I think it looks pretty great. Now let's go ahead and try out the action button. So we press and hold on the other. It gives a little haptic feedback and lets us know that it's activated. Of course, once you set it to whatever you're using, whether that's a shortcut or something else, seems to work pretty well. So as you expect, if you never want to use it, you don't have to, but it is in a little bit of an awkward spot. As far as the processor this year, we have a 3nm processor. So this should add for efficiency. It also should help with overall speed, and it should have 8 GB of RAM. So if we go into Geekbench 6, you can see that here. Both of these have 7.47 or 7.5 GB of RAM. So 8 GB of RAM should help a lot. And then when it comes to the cameras this year are the same with the front camera, but different in the back. So the front-facing camera is the same as last year, a 12-megapixel f1.9 camera with autofocus, which is really nice, but the rear cameras is where it's different. So with the rear cameras, they look similar, but within the lenses, there's a little bit of a difference here. So the rear cameras, we have a new 48-megapixel sensor, a sensor shift stabilization, and a wide f1.78 aperture. However, we still have a 12-megapixel ultra-wide f2.2, and the telephoto is different at f2.8 on the Pro Max model, where it actually has 5 times optical zoom. We have basically last year's camera on the Pro with 3 times optical zoom. So we have a prism that sort of reflects light and gives us a 5 times optical zoom with the Pro Max. I'll show you that in a moment. And then also we have something where we can actually record ProRes up to 4K 60 with a new log video recording system and Academy color encoding system. So we can actually use an external drive to record up to 4K 60. So if you have USB-C and a fast enough drive, maybe a T5 or T7 Samsung drive, we can record directly to that and then offload our footage much faster using USB-C. So that's something I'm really excited to try out. And if we go into our settings and go down to camera, you'll see we have record video 4K 60. And if we scroll down, you've got all of your regular settings, but we'll go down here a little bit further, of course, HDR and more. And if we go over to our formats, within formats, if we go down, we've got ProRes and then ProRes encoding, and then we have HDR, SDR, or log. So we can record in any of those formats. And again, with 4K 60, we'll need an external drive, but 4K 30 directly into the camera. So you'll see there's RAW Max. If we go to video, give it a second, and we've got ProRes, and it says ProRes not supported at 4K 60, you'll need an external device. Let's see if I plug this in, if it works right away, or maybe I'll need to format this later on or something else. So let's see what it does. We'll tap the button and it says not supported. So I may need to format the drive and give that a try later on and see if that will work a little bit later. But either way, we have that video format, which is pretty incredible on a phone. Of course, with the camera, we should have the option for zooming in a little bit differently with some different lens options. So under 1x, if we tap it again, we should be able to get some different zoom ranges under the photo camera. So if we tap this here, we've got 28 millimeters or 1.2x, 35 millimeters or 1.5x, and 24, 28, and 35. So we have those. We, of course, have ultra wide. We have 2 times. Then we have 5 times. And it's pretty clear here. So I'll take a photo and you can see that. And let's compare a few photos and see what they look like. So here's a few photos comparing the camera zoomed in to see the difference as far as zoom between the Pro and Pro Max. And that gives you an idea. Of course, I'll record more with the video camera later to see what that's like. Something we also have is if we're taking a photo and we're not using portrait mode, it now captures that depth information. Now, the way it works is if I tap on an object, it will actually record that depth information. But if I'm just taking a photo by itself without actually tapping the focus area, it doesn't record it unless it's a person or maybe a cat or a dog. However, if we go into this and you have the little f-stop button here, you can adjust the focus after the fact. So if I tap on the background, we'll zoom in here. If I tap maybe on the iPhone, I can focus to that, or I can focus back to maybe the laptop back there. So you can fully adjust the focal depth here based on what's focused or what's not. So that's something you can change after you've taken the photo, as long as you tap to focus. If you didn't and it's a person, well, it will record that anyway. You don't have to take a portrait photo this time around for that to work. And it works on both phones. Now, another thing worth noting is we have a new 5G Qualcomm modem. It should be faster and a little bit better. We also have Wi-Fi 6E this time around and Thread networking technology, along with Bluetooth 5.3. So this could be used in the future with Thread to help devices talk to one another. Additionally, let's talk about battery for a moment. So battery is a little bit bigger this time around with the batteries in each device. And what that means is for the 15 Pro Max, we have a 4,422 milliamp hour battery, as many have said. And that's a little bit bigger than last year's battery. The 15 Pro has a 3,274 milliamp hour battery. Now, Apple says they get the exact same time as far as usage as last year, 29 hours of video playback on the Pro Max, 23 on the Pro, and then 75 hours of audio on the Pro, 95 on the Pro Max. So we should have the same exact battery life, but maybe it will be a little bit better. We'll have to wait and see after we've used it for a little while. One thing we can do though is some new battery settings. So if we go into our settings, we'll go back, go under battery here, under battery health and charging, we now have the option to go under our optimization and change it to an 80% limit if we don't want it to charge beyond 80%. If you want to let it manage itself, you can just leave it alone, but we have that option. Also in our settings, we now have the option to actually see how many battery cycles we have. That's something I've shown in many videos, and we can finally see it here. So if we go to General, then About, and at the bottom you can see we have battery where it says manufacture date. First use is September 2023. Cycle count is 0 since I haven't used it. Cycle count is important as Apple says these are designed for 500 cycles to about 80% of the battery. So that's something we can check regularly now without plugging it into an external computer to check. Now we do have the same charging speeds, 50% in 35 minutes with a 20 watt adapter or higher. And also you can charge other devices with this. And the way it works is if you have USB-C to USB-C with iPhones, it actually looks at which one is charged more and then actually charges the one that's charged less. So if one has 100% battery, one has 50, one will charge, one will not. So now the Pro Max is charging, it's at 79%. Let's see what the Pro is at, we're at 81%. So it recognized that and starts charging from the Pro to the Pro Max. It will do that based on what has the most charge to begin with. You can charge other devices such as the new USB-C AirPods Pro, or the AirPods Pro 2, and you can charge those at about 4.75 watts. So it's not a huge charging jump, but at least you can charge those devices. No reverse wireless charging though, but you can use MagSafe accessories to charge just like you could before. Now the phone is getting a little bit warm on the Pro Max since I went into those camera settings, and hopefully it can dissipate heat a little bit better this year. 3nm processor should be a little bit better, but again, we'll have to wait and see. As far as the overall PWM of the display, I would expect it to be the same as last year, but let's go ahead and take a look. And at 240 frames per second, I don't see any perceivable PWM, at least at that speed. I think they probably have DC dimming like they did last year above about 39%, but even with the screen below 20%, it doesn't seem to flicker at all. So this is great. It should be easy on the eyes, maybe even better than last year, but we'll have to wait for more conclusive tests as far as that goes. We have IP68 certification, 6 meters for up to 30 minutes. And of course, we have our normal speakers. I don't expect them to really be any different than we had last year. As far as anything else, well, that's the first look. A first note about the colors. I think the colors are really nice. I am leaning toward the blue. I know a lot of people like the natural titanium. I like the blue quite a bit. And a quick comparison with the 12 Pro Max blue with Pacific blue. I actually like the 15 Pro Max blue better. It's a little bit darker. I think it looks a little bit better. So that's a first look at the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max. Now you may not have noticed, but the beginning of this video and this part of the video is being recorded with the 15 Pro Max. I'm recording in ProRes at 30 frames per second, and I'm not using log, I'm just using SDR, but I'll try out all the different modes a little bit later. So I'm really liking the natural titanium. I like the blue, but it's showing a lot of fingerprints. But let me know what color your favorite is. Did you pick up an iPhone 15, 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, or 15 Plus? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks again to Pitaka for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out the discount code in the description below for 10% off if you're a new customer. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.